Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside Gaming Thought Sunday, I guess. Today we're talking about public spaces in video games.
Hooray!
I promise it'll be interesting. We got some thunks more. It's one of those thinky thunks. So yeah, Destiny 2 is a different kind of shooter. Yeah, it balances precise gun controls with consistent multiplayer activities, all while keeping you hooked to its loot system.
But we think what sets it apart most is its use of shared and public spaces.
Yeah, it's not something people talk about a lot in regards to game design. It's the actual spaces you enter and move through and what they're designed to bring out of you as a player.
In the beginning, I played it largely as a single-player game since I bought it on Xbox in the dark days before cross-save and all my friends had PS4s. But there was plenty in the base game to keep me hooked even without a fire team to keep me company. The unrivaled shooting, the buck-wild world building, all good things.
Gotta read those Grimoire cards on the toilet.
But one of the most anticipated parts of every play session was when I went back to the farm and later the tower.
Yeah, you get that Christmas morning mentality of decoding engrams, turning in tokens, and picking up items from the postmasters. It's a huge part of that cycle.
Oh, it's just this huge dopamine rush. Like, consistently. Wow, pants!
Robot pants!
That's how I get dressed every morning. I'm like, wow! Cool! Anyway, this could have all been taken care of in menus. However, Destiny opts to use hubs like the tower and the farm that the game fills at random with other players.
In my most cynical moments, I interpreted that to mean like you have to reward people for their emotes and you have to instill that like envy between other players. Like, wow, your armor's super cool. I want that. How do I get it? Then you have to go online to find it and then grind it all out. But there's something else there to that experience. Specifically in regards to other players, you can't really talk to them, but you wave, you dance, you play soccer. The whole experience has a spontaneity and a freshness you don't really get with NPCs, mostly because they're saying indeed.
When you, the real, physical you, go to a public trail or park or library, it's not like you all plan to be there at the same time, you and everybody that's gone to that same place. There's not a Facebook event that says, let's all go to the Echo Park Lake and act like we're friendly strangers.
Flip ramen bowls around and wave at each other. One of the hallmarks of a public space is that it doesn't need to serve and express purpose beyond being a place anyone can pass through or spend time in.
This is Amanda Burden.
Hello, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. She knows a lot about these kind of spaces as a former New York City planner. New York!
Yeah.
City planner!
Come on, I'm planning here. She's responsible for some of the most iconic and widely trafficked public spaces in the world, like the High Line, and in her TED Talk, she highlights a crucial point, that public spaces do not happen by accident.
They required incredible dedication and enormous attention to detail.
Especially in a place like New York City!
Hey!
Oh, where empty space is very much sought after.
But you don't notice that, at least you're not supposed to. It takes a lot of invisible effort to make a space appear natural.
A familiar concept in video game design.
When it's executed well, yes. So there are many details that have been meticulously iterated on to create welcoming public environments. Things like movable seats and greenery, and not commercial spaces, because then it would just be a mall, as Burden puts it.
Another interesting parallel there, resisting the commodification of every single moment.
Are you taking notes, EA? So yeah, that kind of links back to my cynicism about the public spaces in Destiny, thinking that they were just social hooks to get you to care about all the shaders, the emotes, and things like that. So, I don't know, I think it serves a dual purpose, but there is a greater divinity to Destiny 2's public areas.
There is commodification, it's not truly a public space.
It's a
we'll
video
get to
game,
that.
yeah.
Public spaces do exist outside of the places people lived most of their lives, totally separate from the home, from work.
By design, they encourage sociability among people who may never have crossed paths in the first place, stitching together cities and communities.
As far as virtual public spaces go, Destiny's Tower is one of my favorites, and I guess the farm too, but no one really goes there anymore.
I'm already seeing the inflammatory thumbnail. Destiny 2 hates rural America. Destiny 2 is a game for coastal elites only.
No more crops, we eat, what's a coastal food?
Corn.
Corn!
Sushi? No, we eat sushi wrapped in kale.
Yeah, we call it a burrito, because we're assholes. I enjoy the randomness of it, like a real public place. So the tower is populated by all kinds of folks coming from and heading to different places. And though you're all in the same place, no event brought everyone together.
Yeah, but it's not really a gathering place. For one, because Destiny isn't really conducive to large-scale groups, but also because it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, you can exchange a quick emote or wave with another player as both of you head to take care of completely different tasks.
Yeah, it's the bustle of it that's nice. And its context matters. Unlike the holding area prior to an Overwatch match or a Battle Royale staging island, the tower is not a precursor to gameplay. I mean, it kinda is, but not expressly so. And when the camera defaults to third person instead of first, it shows your character just existing in this place. And not just a portal for you to experience the joy of popping alien heads like little space pimples. There's a reason the Cabal are pressurized, and man, it feels good to squeeze those little bad boys.
There may not be movable seating or a ton of greenery, but it does share other aspects with many real-life spaces, like ambient sound.
Which is, yeah, it's one of, oh man, I'm so glad you brought this up. You've almost certainly seen a public park with a fountain at the center, and while those are great great to look at, and to help folks stay cool, they're also constantly generating nice sounds.
Even a quiet place needs a base level of sound, because a place that's silent, completely devoid of sound, that's spooky, not calming.
And wouldn't you know it, the tower is filled with idle chatter, the sounds of ships coming and going, and music, and just like little murmurs of people talk. Oh, how dare you? No, it's all right.
Saxophone ringing.
So public spaces are important and require astounding amounts of tender love, care, and planning. TLCP, you know me. But what happens when the effort isn't put in? When development is allowed to grow without considering the people that make up an area, you end up with sprawl.
Yeah, the definition isn't quite nailed down, but sprawl is essentially the spread of development and housing with little consideration of planning and organization.
Yeah, after World War II, land was cheap, automobiles were the standard mode of transportation, and white people couldn't get out of cities fast enough because of what was happening to the neighborhood.
Because of sprawl's uneven growth, connecting the people that have moved out there over the past decades is a tremendous undertaking.
By way of ideas like cul-de-sacs, suburbs are actively designed to discourage through traffic, which seems well-intentioned enough, but it makes it very hard to get around on foot. Take a closer look at nicer neighborhoods, and you'll notice that a lot of them don't have sidewalks. Why would I want common riffraff on my property?
Why should I have to pay for other people to walk? And suburbs are developed further and further out with cars in mind. They move further away from spaces designed to put people first.
Oh. And when we talk about sprawl, we don't mean rural areas. In fact, we here at Inside Gaming fully encourage you to get off the grid and lie low out there while things cool down.
Yeah, and then when the heat dies down, we'll do that job. You know, the big one. The one we've always talked about, and we'll never need to ask anyone for anything. Ever again. We'll head south, past the border, and we'll go straight, you and me. No more after we pull this one off. I promise.
Okay, why are we talking about this? Well, I've noticed a similar contrast in Destiny 2, a division between spaces.
Yeah, the tower and the farm are very good at keeping with that public space design ethos, as we've spoken about already, but the whole point of Destiny is that we're not meant to stay on Earth.
This is where the shooter part comes in. A Destiny player doesn't travel to the far reaches of the solar system to just hang out.
Yeah, get the f out of here with that hippie No Man's Sky Astroneer bullshit.
The Traveler imbued me with light so I could kill. Woo! Come on, let's go!
Woo! Yeah, it's a shooter! And Bungie has made some genre-defining shooters since the beginning of time, when the Virgin Mother gave birth to Master Chief 6,000 years ago.
Shoutouts to all the young Earth creationists in the audience. Props to you for at least keeping things interesting.
Hey, we told you Inside Gaming supported rural America. Though Destiny's worlds function as sort of lobbies / open world / multiplayer servers, they exist in a very different context from the tower.
It's not so much a public space as it is one for combat.
Yeah, Destiny 2's open worlds are designed like complicated racetracks. Many pockets of varying size connected by well-worn roads and paths meant for sparrows to race through. And the Shadowkeep's The Moon is not that much different.
And listen, it's really well done from a gameplay perspective. Zooming around, stopping off for a quick firefight, the maps are excellent at guiding the player from one area to another, revealing pockets of combat and hidden chests. Also, I love my sparrow. If you watched our Shadowkeep review, you may have noticed my little Scoot sparrow. It is my pride and joy.
I'm so jealous. So this is all to say that we enjoy playing through these areas, plus it's baked into the familiar Destiny formula. Finish task, collect reward, traverse to the next task, rinse and repeat.
And it works well for the game, but it makes it difficult to feel like those worlds are also shared public spaces.
Yeah, in fact, to continue the metaphor, if the tower is a public space, then Destiny 2's worlds are privately owned public spaces.
Privately owned public spaces are typically the result of an agreement between a city and a private developer, such as being allowed to build large structures, but a portion is designed for public use.
So we're about to stretch this a tad thin. I think likening Destiny 2 to a privately owned public space in the first place is a bit of a heavy metaphor, but bear with us. Hopefully it'll make sense by the end of it.
So let's say, in this scenario,
Yeah.
enemies are private developers, and the Guardians are the city.
You following?
Okay.
All right, good. So it's not an official agreement, but much of that space is split between the player and the alien races that fill out the Destiny canon.
I mean, stand in the middle of any open area aside from the tower or the farm and try not to get shot.
It's like being in a park and having a kid throw ice cream at you. So yeah, that analogy poses all kinds of other questions we're not going to begin to unpack. But what we're getting at is that there's tension and compromise present in Destiny 2's solar system.
Yeah, you can use the space. You're welcome to sort through your inventory, screw around doing emotes, or chat with your fire team, game, but you remember that you're only temporarily allowed to hang out freely.
Yeah, then again, if you take a step back, there's not really a strictly public space in games. I mean, not really. There are some, but they're interesting.
Yeah, online spaces are pretty heavily moderated, especially in a AAA release, and once you've purchased a license to play the game, you're allowed the privilege of using any space offered by the game.
I guess you could say that no space is really truly public anymore, gaming aside, that every place falls under somebody's purview, be it a person, company, state, or country.
I suppose there's international waters.
Lawrence, please, I can get you the money. I just need 2 more days. Lawrence, please. Please, Lawrence.
It's too late.
Oh my God. Lawrence.
No, maybe Second Life or VR Chat are the closest we've gotten to true online public spaces, but if anything, those can be a testament to the positives of moderated spaces overseen by a developer or any rational human.
No offense to the denizens of Second Life or VR Chat, you're out there taming the frontier, so one day we may be able to all join you.
We salute you. God bless your anime avatars.
There were, of course, multiplayer games before Destiny, I know, that made use of public spaces, and it seemed foolish to only offer my own recent experiences, so I wanted to talk to a more experienced gamer about how the spaces have evolved.
I mean, MMOs are just big, really. World of Warcraft always has their public meeting spaces and it kind of shifts from expansion to expansion, but really, it's just a place for everyone to gather for functions. I mean, people do show off their mounts and stuff like that, but really it's just, unlike Destiny, which instances it, so you're not slammed, and something on World of Warcraft, there's like hundreds of people running around, so it's just chaos. Other games have found ways to moderate that. Final Fantasy XIV's spaces are a little bit different, but then it's weird, the white noise is just the cacophony of everybody like hammering boards and trying to craft and stuff like that. So it's not really a space you want to hang out, and the only reason you go there is to get equipment. Yeah, it doesn't really have the calming and meditative effect of something like Destiny's Tower. It's interesting, I think they try to show off or really hammer home that this is an MMO, and part of that is showing you as many players as possible in this space, which just means you have a lot of character models flying through each other without collision, which in a way really reinforces that this is a video game and not a virtual space. There's always the aspect of somebody that has a huge mount with giant wings standing right in front of the mailbox, so you have to like click around it. There's an element of trolling there too, which you don't really get in Destiny because they don't give you that option. It's interesting to see how those things have evolved.
If anything, it may be less of a public space and more of just like...
It's more of a commons area.
Yeah, exactly.
And the tragedy of the commons certainly applies sometimes.
Well, cool, that seems like a good enough segue. Yeah. When sprawl became more prevalent, cities became less accessible and many fell into neglect, and urban centers were eventually far less traveled.
Yeah, though Bungie has continued to give players reason to return to the tower for quests and bounties, Shadowkeep has moved some of the rewards and item unlocks away from the tower, like the new season pass, from which perks can just be claimed in a menu anywhere at any time.
It seems like Destiny 2 could continue to decentralize. For instance, players don't need to speak with Tess Everest to access the Eververse store anymore, which...
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Logistically, it makes sense to move a lot of these things to menus, especially if you consider the glacial load time on consoles.
It's bad.
But I think I would miss when every play session was bookended by trips to the tower. It's a nice place to sort of collect your thoughts. It's a good staging area and it's a good come down area. It's like walking for a bit after a good sprint.
Yeah, I agree. These days, I'll usually play Destiny with my dear friend, coworker, and dare I say, partner, Patrick Brown. When they get me for insider trading...
What?
When they get me for insider trading, you can be sure I'll be taking him down with me. I don't want as much for the shared spaces of the tower, and my character increasingly has fewer reasons to swing by, but often after Patrick gets off, and I assure you he will make fun of me for this the second we stop recording, I'll stick around the tower for a few minutes and just take it in.
I mean, I keep doing that too. At the end of my Destiny session, often I'll just stare at the Traveler for a bit, watch all the ships buzzing around, just be like, because it is relaxing. It's a nice way to degauss after you're done playing.
Absolutely. I don't go through my inventory, I don't pick up any bounties, I'll just stand there and I'll observe everyone going about their business. Come on, let's go! Woo! It's that's a lot.
It's on the camera.
Yeah.
I just love how it's yeah, there was more twist
Well,
there.
through the magic of editing.
What better material is there to illustrate this than the manipulation of concrete?
I'm so glad you asked. Concrete is generally perceived by the public as ugly, stark, and drab.
It's very unattractive.
It's not very attractive.
I think it should be torn down.